So I heard this when I was very young, I heard Dylan Thomas read this poem. And the title of this poem kind of lulls you into a false sense of security, because this man, John Betzeman, wrote mostly real light, happy, talking about churches and this and that. And so then he comes up with this thing. To my son, excuse me, to my son, aged 8. O little body, do not die. The soul looks out through wide blue eyes, so questioningly into mine, that my tormented soul replies, O little body, do not die. You hold the soul that talks to me, although our conversation be as wordless as the windy sky. So looked my father at the last, right in my soul before he died, though words we spoke went heedless past as London traffic roared outside. And now the same blue eyes I see looks through me from my little son, so questioningly, so searchingly, that youthfulness and age are one. My father looked at me and died before my soul made full reply, Lord, leave this other life to light. O little body, do not die. And so I'm going to read a poem about my son. And it's the title of the book, Approaching Darkness. It's called Into Approaching Darkness, Burning Bright. It was 3:00 in the afternoon and it was raining. I was on the other side of the world, wandering, wondering why. Back home, the elephant was in the room, but nobody noticed. The summer shower was a blessing, but people were losing patience with the weather. There was no bird song in the yard as heavy traffic shot by in 5/4 time. A woman hung out the wash as the wind played softly with a faint vibrato. A sweet synesthesia prevailed, suggesting the scent of autumn on the tongue. Then the breeze picked up speed, twisting the sheets into olifant flags of surrender. About a mile away, a man was marching and mumbling to himself down a blue highway when a logging transport mowed him down, and he fell like a stand of wheat in a field in Kansas on the first day of harvest. Then the wind was still, the sun shining like gold. At that very same instant, I'd like to think, the boy was born in downtown Tacoma, protesting with all his fiery might his own arrival into the world. So let us say, just outside Paradise, California, or, for the sake of obfuscation, between the eternal here and the elusive there, two trains pass each other, whistles blaring, and inside that din of sparks and cinders, flying Vespa-like into approaching darkness, burning bright as the sun, a baby cries and clenches his tiny fists, and the mother sentimentally calls it a miracle and smiles. So I think about time, and the moment shared inside that sacred interstice by a man and a woman, in that instant when new life is created, held fast by the 6 stitches in the Semite peplos that separates the now and the time to come, in that twilight before the rising of the moon. In the nursery, the elephants, a mural, marching, tail and trunk, ring the room in a cloud-splattered sky. Screeching with delight, Pointing and laughing, he constantly marvels at them. They're going nowhere. His heart and mind have joined, warped with wonder, not even knowing what they are. He loves them all. Everyone had to read the Odyssey when they were in school, I imagine. You didn't want to, it's so long. Well, I grew up in Venice, California, and this is called, Telemachus was Penelope and Odysseus' son. Telemachus in Venice, 1959. The house is empty throughout the day. My mother works from sunup to twilight. Roses shine outside the living room window. Wild ivy reaches up and down the cross-white trellis. The dog sleeps in the shade of a backyard incinerator. I am in my room with my gallant toy soldiers. They are laying siege to Troy, built from an entire set of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Such a silent and crouching violence waits outside the thick magenta-hued, high and impregnable gate, while fire trucks and ambulances whine in the streets. Mother comes home tired, gives me $1 for dinner, then lies down on the couch. Dad is still out on the road, that endless highway he calls hope for the future, or looking for love. A fierce sunlight prints a fiery orange ball in the center of the diaphanous Irish lace curtains. Night plays hide and seek below the twin mile-long lines of royal palms down Washington Street to the beach. The sound of bongos and a lone recorder find their way over the rooftops of dilapidated dwellings beside the Grand Canal. I sit on the porch and half listen, watching the minnow-mobbed water, looking down past the bridges for my father, hoping he doesn't show. I wasn't going to read this poem, but Marcia's here. Marcia told me she liked this poem, so. And David's here, so. This takes place right next door to Cambodia. The camphor trees. I think it must have had something to do with the 2 camphor trees that lived on the parkway in front of our house. I used to count how many of the green and yellow leaves would turn red in the late winter to early spring, with the many birds congregating there in the lush crown of leather-like leaves, so loud, yet we hardly ever saw them, while they sang and quarreled overhead as the last rains of April dropped their meager payload, creating miniature bodies of water in the curled-up, canoe-shaped leaves, until the sun broke through and wrung them dry, taking the excess back up into the invisible higher atmosphere. The cool winds return at times, and the remembrances of long weekends, the baseball games and the beach, bowling and shooting pool, and the movies, of course. And the girls I wanted, and the ones I got, and my family, my not really knowing them at all. And then, all of a sudden, I'm hugging the muddy embankment of a crumbling dike on the Mekong, counting the grubs and worms and dung beetles moving past my eyes. It's high noon and as hot as the underworld, and except for Masters and Rutherford, who are lying half in and half out of the river and haven't moved for over an hour now, all I could think about were those 2 camphor trees and my mother coming out onto the front porch and calling us in to dinner, and getting up and going towards the house, watching myself disappear through the open doorway and the never-ending silence that tried to masquerade as serenity but failed miserably, as I always knew it would. Later on, we stood in the darkness, looking across the river, in the light rain that remained behind. Always good, I thought, the sight and the sound and soft caress of wind over water. And then I thought, almost prayed, let time stop now. And then, through the imaginary branches, the yellow moon. What else do I have? I can read two more. This one's for David. You'll see why. Does everyone know about the Grail and all that thing, Mort Arthur? Okay, gotcha. Outside the Chapel Perilous. There came a day when the blue sky of summer was revealed, made real, and moved inside of me, spreading out across the wide and now open interior that once existed behind my eyes, like floodwaters move, unimpeded into a meadow. There came a day I noticed when a camphor tree's green and yellow leaves, some of them turned red and rusty brown and fell to the ground at the end of autumn and remained there all winter under the comforting snow. There came a day in my hometown by a great ocean in the west when I stopped running and sat down on the sand and wanted to leave, but was made to linger there, where I was finally swallowed up by a zephyr. There came a day when ritual and romance became all of a sudden important, when the sun and moon turned to gold, and the spirit of unreason smiled at me and said, with arms open wide, "Come in. Come on in here, now." There came a day when I had a vision of a vast army of cannibals, all wearing three-piece suits, brandishing swords and cudgels and singing and dancing while they battled all around a rusted Cambodian computer beside a river made of night. There came a day when I started to ask questions until, unconscious as Adam, I asked the right question: who is my neighbor? And after receiving the unexpected answer, drove away in my long black limousine to my empty mansion on the hill. Now the wind comes again. It stands before me like some favorite teacher from the past. We are both waiting for the other to extend a greeting, but I am afraid and so unable to speak. Then I feel something soft, like the single strand of a spider's web on my cheek. I reach up and touch my face. Nothing, because it had gone. I had had a conversation with a man about 20 years ago in the west of Ireland, and he told me about a woman that he'd lived with for a long, long, long time. And he was just a wonderful speaker. And he told me this story. And I want you to try and guess what the relationship was between him and the woman. Who was she to him? On Trebain, by the sea below the fields of plenty. What was it like when you arrived there? Were the skies still blue? Are the sands where you now walk warm? Is there time to think? Things are about the same round here. It's been raining since you moved on. No, not outside. The sun is out every day. But in the vacant room where you used to sleep, where I stand looking at the floor, and I just let it pour, I just wish me well in the days ahead. Later on, I hope to see you once again on the shore where birds call out your name and my name in a single singing breath. Thank you.